A tiny mummy struggles to push open its coffin lid. The little mummy hasn't walked for hundreds of years and can barely stand. Its soft body falls over at the slightest touch. As Sora tries to push the mummy back into the coffin with a hanger and prepares to send it back to where it came from, a puddle of liquid leaks from the coffin. When Sora opens it, he finds the little mummy's tears. Sora receives a package today. It's from his father, who's adventuring in Egypt. Inside is a huge coffin. Though his father insists in the letter that it contains a cute mummy, Sora breaks out in cold sweat. His father has never been reliable. Last time he sent a fun toy that turned out to be a cursed Daruma doll and a lucky scarecrow that tried to kill him on sight. Suddenly the coffin starts moving by itself. Sora immediately gets ready to defend himself. It's so unexpected that it's actually scary. To his surprise, it really is a cute mummy, but since it's from his unreliable father, it might turn into a demon any second. So Sora still doesn't dare touch it. He uses a hanger to push the mummy back into the coffin, planning to seal it and send it back to Egypt. Then Sora notices liquid leaking from the coffin. Opening it, he finds the little mummy crying. Sora gets a cloth to wipe the floor. Seeing this, the mummy tries to help, but Sora isn't sure if it's safe. Yet he blocks it with a book to keep it away. Though the mummy looks harmless, Sora thinks it's better to avoid trouble. He still plans to return it to Egypt. Hearing this, the mummy gets anxious. It hugs Sora's leg and begs to stay. When Sora still wants to send it away, the mummy starts performing tricks. It gestures that it can cook and help with housework. Just let it stay. But Sora doubts its words. Its small size can't do much work. The mummy feels hurt by this. It wants to argue but can't speak. After struggling, only sad tears come out. Seeing this, Sora gives it a chance to prove itself. But the little mummy can't even lift a carrot. Then it falls into the sink. Sora tells the little mummy to spit out the water it just drank. After failing again and again, the little mummy clings to Sora's clothes. Its pitiful look softens Sora's heart. But he knows nothing about mummies. He hopes to find answers in his father's letter, but the letter only has one instruction. Never remove the little mummy's bandages. There's no other information. Even the encyclopedia has nothing about raising a mummy. When Sora sighs deeply, the little mummy thinks he'll send it away. Tears of sadness fill its eyes. But Sora actually wants to keep it. He's even thinking of names for it. Suddenly, a loud noise interrupts them. Pochi, the dog, wakes up and comes out. Pochi is Sora's longtime pet. Sora immediately comforts Pochi, leaving the little mummy alone. Seeing Pochi get cuddles from Sora, the little mummy cries jealous tears. It even barks like a dog for attention. Sora asks in surprise, "Did you just bark?" Feeling left out, the little mummy climbs onto Sora's back and won't let go. But then it realizes Pochi gets held while it has to cling on by itself. This unfair treatment makes it sad, so it barks like a dog again to cheer up the little mummy. Sora quickly gives it a name, Mikuin. Hearing its new name, Mikuin realizes it won't be sent away. Happy, it hugs Sora's neck. Though Sora decides to keep Mikuin, he still doesn't know how to care for it. He starts by giving it some water. Mikuin uses the cup as a bathtub. Sora patiently teaches, hold it like this, and drink without wetting your face. But it gets worse. Finally, they use a lighter bottle cap. Now Mikuin can drink properly. Next comes the food problem. Not knowing what Mikuin eats, Sora tries different foods from the fridge. Now they just need to figure out the food problem. Since they don't know what Mikuin eats, Sora takes out everything from the fridge and lets Mikuin try each one. Mikuin shakes his head at the smell of cucumber, but he happily accepts sweet apples. Sora says, I see apples work. I should write this down. Seeing how happy Sora is when he eats the apple, Mikuin tries to force himself to eat cucumber. Luckily Sora stops him. In time, they finally discover Mikuin's favorite food is konjac noodles. By now it's almost midnight. Tired, Mikuin hugs Pochi and falls asleep. After all, he's exhausted from the long trip from Egypt. Sora says, good night, Mikuin. The next day Sora tells his friend Tezuki at school, my dad sent me a cute little mummy. This makes Tezuki curious. After school, he goes to Sora's house to see for himself. Sora tells Tezuki, Mikuin is so chubby he doesn't look like a mummy at all. But when they get home Mikuin has turned into a dried up mummy. Sora has no idea what happened. Why did Mikuin dry up in just half a day? Luckily, after drinking water, Mikuin plumps back into his cute round shape. This is Tezuki's first time seeing a mummy. Mischievous Tezuki really wants to see what's under the bandages. As if sensing his thoughts, Mikuin starts trembling when Tezuki reaches out to touch him. Mikuin quickly hides behind Sora. Tezuki laughs. It's good that he's cautious. I think it's cute. Seeing him so scared makes me want to tease him even more. Sora says, I get it, Tezuki. Mikuin is scared because he knows what you're thinking. After Tezuki leaves, Sora decides to take a bath. To his surprise, Mikuin wants to join. At first Sora is worried because mummies are usually afraid of water, but then he sees Mikuin happily swimming in the tub. He realizes he was overthinking it. After all, no one has ever raised a mummy before. Sora says, okay, time to get out now. But Mikuin's body? Mikuin's body swells up like a water balloon. Sora asks, can we squeeze the water out? Sora says, you've become all puffy now. These days, whenever Sora comes home, he notices the once chubby Mikuin has turned into a dried up mummy. Sora can't figure out why this keeps happening. Luckily, Mikuin returns to normal. After drinking water, Sora decides to prepare dinner for the little one. When Mikuin hears Sora is cooking, he quickly runs and grabs a kitchen knife bigger than himself. Confused by Mikuin's actions, Sora quickly separates him from the dangerous knife. Then Sora suddenly remembers that before being adopted, Mikuin promised to do laundry and cook if he could stay with Sora. Even now that he's been adopted, Mikuin still wants to help with chores. Not wanting to hurt Mikuin's feelings, Sora attaches a craft knife blade to a piece of wood to make a tiny kitchen knife Mikuin can use safely. Excited by his new treasure, Mikuin runs happily across the table. Sora starts preparing dinner while Mikuin cuts vegetables carefully, thinking everything is safe. Sora goes to get ingredients from the fridge, but then Mikuin has an accident. His cucumber slips away, and when he tries to catch it, he loses his balance and falls toward the floor. Luckily, Sora notices in time and jumps to catch Mikuin, though he bumps into the wall himself. Mikuin quickly apologizes, but Sora isn't angry at him at all. He blames himself for not watching Mikuin closely enough. Sora comforts him, don't cry. That night Tezuki visits Sora, goes to the kitchen to prepare snacks, leaving Mikuin alone with Tezuki. Mikuin, who already finds Tezuki scary, notices Tezuki staring intensely at him and starts trembling with fear. Fortunately, Sora returns quickly. Sora asks, what's wrong, Mikuin? Are you still scared of Tezuki? Tezuki looks at the cake and says that looks delicious, but Mikuin imagines Tezuki wants to eat him instead. Mikuin gets really scared by his own imagination at this exact moment. Sora leaves again. Mikuin hides behind a vase, shaking with fear. But the more scared Mikuin gets, the more excited Tezuki becomes. To make Mikuin lower his guard, Tezuki scoops some cake with a spoon. Then he puts on a very friendly face. He tries to lure Mikuin closer. Not knowing how tricky people can be, Mikuin falls for Tezuki's fake smile. Mikuin relaxes and slowly walks toward him. Tezuki happily says, got you. Tezuki says so soft. Tezuki asks, what's inside you? When Sora returns, she thinks Tezuki and Mikuin are getting along. Tezuki asks, where's the end of your bandages? Sora gets mad and hits Tezuki's head. To help Tezuki be nicer to Mikuin, Sora gives Tezuki some dog food. Mikuin likes. She hopes sharing food will make them friends. Tezuki realizes he was being mean earlier. He sincerely apologizes to Mikuin. He begs Mikuin to forgive him. Maybe sensing Tezuki means no harm. Mikuin bravely moves closer again. Tezuki says with feeling, Mikuin is too cute. I don't even want to tease him anymore. Recently, when Mikuin stays home alone, he keeps turning into a dried-up mummy. So Sora decides to bring him to school. But Mikuin keeps trying to climb out of the bag. If anyone sees him, it'll cause big trouble. After class, Sora makes 3 rules with Mikuin outside. Mikuin must pretend to be a doll and stay still. Mikuin follows Sora's rules carefully. But just as Sora puts him in the desk drawer, Mikuin accidentally sneezes. Classmate Asa happens to hear Mikuin sneeze. She's never seen a doll that sneezes before. Asa keeps asking curious questions. Nervous Sora lies and says, that sneeze was actually me. But Asa keeps staring at Mikuin. She thinks this doll is super cute. Asa praises, Mikuin is so squishy and comfy. Sora quickly says, Asa, if you like it, I'll give you one. Of course Sora doesn't plan to give away the real Mikuin. Sora is very good with her hands. During break time, she uses needles, thread and bandages to make several dolls that look exactly like Mikuin. She plans to give them to Asa and Tezuki. But before Sora can prepare everything, Asa suddenly opens the door and runs in. He takes one of the dolls and leaves. Quickly after Asa leaves, Sora realizes he took the real Mikuin by mistake, but it's too late to chase after him now, because the next class is PE, and Asa has already gone to the locker room. Sora and Tezuki go to the playground to think of a plan. Mikuin is left alone in the locker room when no one is around. Mikuin finally moves. Mikuin spots a mouse hole in the corner. Mikuin thinks if it can go through, it can meet up with Sora using clothes. Mikuin climbs down to the floor looking at the dark hole ahead. Mikuin gathers courage and goes inside. Meanwhile, on the playground, Sora and Tezuki notice a bag next to Asa. They think Mikuin must be inside, but it's just a towel. Meanwhile, Mikuin follows the tunnel and reaches the school's air vents. Poor, helpless Mikuin can't even fight off a small mouse. It runs away as the mouse chases it. When Sora learns Mikuin is in the locker room, she tries to get it when no one is around. Just then Mikuin jumps out of the bushes. Tezuki catches the mouse. Sora holds Mikuin in her hands. Mikuin is still catching its breath when it remembers its promise to Sora. Ignoring its fear and pain, Mikuin pretends to be a doll again. Staying still, its careful expression makes Sora sad. Sora says softly, "It's okay, Mikuin. You don't have to pretend anymore." One day Sora gets sick with a fever of 39 degrees Celsius. To avoid spreading germs, she locks herself in her room. Her aunt, Mary, can't do anything about it. Mary puts on protective gear and enters through the window. She even makes a small mask for Mikuin. She puts a bandage over Mikuin's mouth. After bringing water and a towel, Sora kicks them out again. Mary brings one of Sora's favorite handkerchiefs. She covers Mikuin with it like a blanket. Then she goes to the kitchen to make warm porridge. Mikuin watches Mary working in the kitchen for a moment. It reminds Mikuin of Sora. Mikuin can't hold back the tears. It hides under the handkerchief and cries quietly. Soon Sora hears a loud gasp. Startled, he rushes out of his room. Turns out Mikuin cried for so long. The handkerchief is soaked with tears. Mikuin dries up again. Sora tries to give it water, but Mikuin won't let go of the handkerchief. Now Sora understands why Mikuin always looked weak. When he came home from school, Mikuin cried itself dry from missing him. To stop Mikuin from drying out again, Sora keeps it close. Already weak from fever, Sora quickly gets exhausted and falls asleep at night. Mikuin wakes up to Sora's coughing. Mikuin remembers Mary using a towel to cool Sora down. It tries to do the same. It pulls the towel toward the water, but Mikuin soon realizes the water bowl is on the table. It's too small to drag the towel up, so Mikuin climbs onto the table and jumps into the water. After soaking up water, it shakes off the extra drops. Then it gently lies on Sora's head, using its body as a cool towel to take care of sick Sora. Mikuin stays awake all night. Whenever it starts drying out, it jumps back into the water bowl. It repeats the steps until morning. Finally, Sora feels better. Sora says, "I can play with you all day today, Mikuin." Just as Sora recovers, Mikuin catches a cold from the icy water. Now it's sneezing and sniffling. Sora worries how to treat a mummy. Then Mikuin points outside, asking to go to the yard. But it's the middle of cold winter. Sora worries Mikuin's cold will get worse if he goes outside. So he says no. But Mikuin rarely disobeys. This time he does. He struggles to stand up and wobbles toward the door. Seeing how much Mikuin wants to go out, Sora quickly makes a scarf and hat for him. After bundling Mikuin up warmly, he finally takes him to the yard. Mikuin immediately jumps to the ground excitedly. Then he starts digging a hole. Sora has no idea what Mikuin is doing, but Pochi understands. First he quickly digs another hole in the yard. Sora still doesn't get what's happening. Calling Mikuin gets no response. It's freezing outside, so Sora goes back inside to wait. He waits until afternoon, but Mikuin still doesn't come out. Sora starts to worry. Once he found a dying baby bird. He nursed it for days, but it still died. That made Sora sad for a long time. If Mikuin dies too. Luckily Mikuin is fine. In fact, his cold is gone after coming out. After eating, he's full of energy again. To celebrate their recovery, Mary buys lots of ingredients. She plans to make beef hot pot for everyone. Sora asks, "Need any help?" Mary says, "Just sit and wait." Mary puts on her glasses. Sora yells, "Don't wear those." Normally Mary is very gentle, but glasses make her act completely different, like she becomes another person. Luckily, Tezuki arrives just then. Glasses Mary says, "I missed you, sweetheart. Give me a hug." Tezuki removes her glasses. Then what? Going to love me, how? Without glasses Mary acts normal again. Luckily, Mary only wears glasses for work. After the hot pot dinner, seeing Sora and Mikuin are okay, Tezuki prepares to go home. Little does he know he's about to meet his own pet, this snotty Oni child. The snotty Oni child spots Tezuki, who's about to go home. It hopes Tezuki will kindly take it in. But when Tezuki imagines how the Oni child will look when it grows up, the image scares him. After scolding the Oni child, he walks away without looking back. Tezuki thinks he's gotten rid of the Oni child, but when he opens his door at home, he finds it already clinging to his window. Still, Tezuki doesn't plan to keep it. He closes the curtains and ignores it. Then he takes a hot shower. After that, he helps his sister with homework. 2 hours pass quickly. Tezuki thinks the Oni child will surely give up in such cold winter weather. But it's still there shivering. Tezuki finally says, "Just for tonight, here's some tissue." Tezuki opens his fridge. He wants to get some food for the Oni child, but can't figure out what it can eat. So he pours it a cup of hot tea first. When he returns to his room, the dirty Oni child is already lying on his bed, ready to sleep. Helpless, Tezuki picks it up and tells it to take a bath before resting. After wandering for so long, the Oni child finally sleeps in a warm bed tonight. The next day, it happily rolls on the table, thinking it won't have to wander anymore. But Tezuki throws it out the window, keeping his promise of just one night. At lunch, Tezuki tells Sora about last night. Sora says that before spring begins, people drive away monsters by throwing beans. The Oni child was probably chased out then. That was a week ago. Since then, it's been wandering in the cold winter. It's kind of pitiful. Sora suggests Tezuki just keep it. Tezuki says, "I left it in the yard this morning. It's probably gone by now, but the Oni child hasn't left." Tezuki sighs. Really, just one more night. And so Tezuki gets stuck in a cycle. Every morning, he throws the Oni child out, but each night it's back at his window staring at him with sad eyes. Tezuki, who's too proud to admit she cares, lets the Oni child back in. This goes on for several days. Even Tezuki's sister gets used to the Oni child's presence. Tezuki finally agrees to let the Oni child stay. When Sora hears this, she just smiles knowingly. She understands Tezuki's proud personality well. She invites Tezuki to bring the Oni child over to play with Mikuin. Though Tezuki acts cold and distant, she actually has a very kind heart. She hesitated to keep the Oni child because she's afraid past mistakes might repeat. She worries she can't take good care of it. So Tezuki seriously tells the Oni child, "If you have problems, go to real experts. Relying on me might not end well." But the Oni child ignores her words completely. It just stares at the scar on Tezuki's hand. The Oni child has an identical scar in the same spot. Next day, Tezuki senses something's wrong when she gets home. Normally silly and cute, the Oni child looks really angry today. Tezuki asks what's wrong. The Oni child holds up Mikuin's toy like a wife finding proof her husband cheated. But Tezuki thinks it just likes the toy. She lets the Oni child play with it. Instead, the Oni child throws the toy away. Tezuki wonders if it's feeling lonely. Next day, she takes the Oni child to Sora's house. She expects it to play well with Mikuin. But when these two special kids meet, they don't instantly become friends. They just freeze and stare at each other. Finally, Mikuin takes the first step. Suddenly, Connie and Mikuin start chasing each other for no clear reason. Sora and Tezuki don't understand what they're doing. They just watch them run circles around the room. They only stop when, completely exhausted, Connie and Mikuin say, "You win." Now Tezuki and Sora realize the kids were just playing a game. After playing together, they quickly become close friends. Since Tezuki decided to keep Connie, Sora suggests giving it a proper name. Otherwise, they won't know what to call it. Tezuki says, "How about Connie?" Connie seems very happy with this name. Next comes lunchtime. Sora prepares ingredients for everyone to make sushi together. This helps them bond with each other. Usually slow-witted, Connie works on the sushi with great focus. After a few failed attempts, Connie finally makes a perfect sushi roll. Then Connie tosses the sushi at Tezuki's mouth. Sora says with emotion, "Connie must want to give you the best." Tezuki tells Connie, "Thanks for the meal." Sora says, "Just praise it directly." Proud Tezuki struggles to be honest, but he still works with Sora to make sushi shaped like their pets. This shows how much they care for Connie. Mikuin watches tearfully, deeply moved. Connie, also bad at expressing feelings, just eats quietly and gives a thumbs up. Tezuki watches Connie eat and sighs. "What am I doing? I ended up getting attached to Connie." "Fine, just for today." Tezuki claims not to care, but before leaving, he gives Sora a note. It's full of questions about caring for Connie. He asks pet expert Sora for advice. After playing with Mikuin, Connie stops disliking its stuffed toy. Now it even hugs the toy while sleeping. As Tazuki grows closer to Connie, he fully accepts it in his heart. He decides to stop running from childhood fears and promises to take good care of the little one. No matter how Tazuki tries to wake Connie today, Connie pretends not to hear. Then Tazuki realizes, maybe it's because I didn't say its name. So Connie's pretending to sleep. Tazuki gives in. Wake up, Connie. Now Connie finally gets up. Tazuki teases Connie. Thick-skinned, not cute at all, and stubborn. Really such an unlikable little thing. A dragon sneaks into Asa's room, but gets caught. When Asa returns, embarrassed, the dragon flaps its wings and hides among toys to blend in. Asa screams, a lizard. Asa, who's feared bugs since childhood. Asa mistakes the dragon for a lizard. She gets so scared that she starts crying. The kind-hearted dragon feels bad for her. It quickly picks up a toy to comfort Asa. But Asa panics and scrambles away. She accidentally rolls down the stairs. The dragon was about to leave quietly, but it rushes over. When it hears the noise, Asa thinks it's trying to attack her. Asa runs to the kitchen to ask her mom for help. Then she sees a note on the table. She remembers her mom isn't home yet. Seeing the giant lizard coming closer, Asa grabs whatever is nearby and throws everything at the dragon. She even picks up a shoe cabinet and hurls it. Asa looks around curiously, wondering if the dragon is gone, but it suddenly appears right beside her. Sora is about to head home with groceries when Asa runs straight into her. After calming Asa down, Sora learns what happened at home. Having seen many strange creatures before, catching a lizard is easy for Sora, but she's surprised by Asa's strength. She wrecked the house all by herself. Sora almost feels sorry for the lizard and starts worrying about her own safety. Sora asks, Asa, are you really strong? Sora says, if the lizard appears again, please don't throw shoe cabinets at me, or use me to hit the lizard, okay? Asa agrees. They finally find the scared dragon in the shoe cabinet. Sora immediately sees it's not a lizard but a cute baby dragon. But Asa still isn't ready to accept it. She runs away and stubs her toe. The pain makes her tremble on the spot. The dragon uses gestures to explain to Sora it was just checking if Asa got hurt falling downstairs. Sora asks, did you hurt your knee falling? That little guy seems really worried about you. Finally, the misunderstanding is cleared up. Asa sincerely apologizes to the dragon. She feels bad for rejecting its kindness and nearly crushing it with a shoe cabinet. Asa cries from guilt. The kind dragon gets flustered when he sees this. He quickly finds a flower in the rubble. He gives it to Asa to cheer her up. What happens when three pets get together? First comes the food problem. Asa tries to see what the dragon likes to eat, but the dragon shakes his head at everything. Meanwhile, Connie isn't picky at all. She keeps eating nonstop. They finally discover the dragon loves bean-based food. Now the two little ones have a new playmate. Compared to those two, the dragon is actually very responsible. He immediately takes care of them. He even recently learned to write his first sentence, thanks his owner for her care. This melts Asa's heart completely. Then the dragon teaches them how to express their feelings in writing. Mikuin finishes his work first. He eagerly shows it to Sora. Mikuin looks a little nervous. What did he write? Mikuin wrote, stay together forever. Meanwhile, Connie secretly writes too. Everyone guesses she'll write about liking Tazuki, but Tazuki thinks this foodie will definitely write about snacks. Connie finally finishes her work. She jumps on the couch and hands it to Tazuki. Connie wrote, do you want me to write about food? Tazuki purposely doesn't answer. Tazuki is clearly teasing Connie. Asa tries to stop him, but Sora knows this is just Tazuki's tsundere way of showing love. They go to the yard later. Angry Connie spots some carrots planted there. Luckily, Sora tapes the carrot's mouth shut. Or this could have been disastrous, because these aren't carrots. They're mandrakes from Sora's irresponsible dad. Hearing a mandrake scream kills people instantly. Yet Mary uses this dangerous plant as her morning alarm clock. The freed mandrake tries to escape. Sora tries to replant it, but the mandrake suddenly spins wildly and leaps over the wall like lightning. It keeps rolling down the street. If the bandage on the mandrake's mouth falls off, its scream could cause trouble in the crowd. So the group chases it to the riverside. Seeing this, the mandrake jumps into the river. Mikuin tries to help and quickly jumps in after it. But Mikuin doesn't jump far enough. Next, Connie takes action. Connie leaps forward with all its might. It crashes into the water and almost drowns. The bandage on the mandrake's mouth is about to come off. At the last moment, the dragon swoops in. It quickly grabs the mandrake. The crisis is finally over. The group returns home. Sora plants the mandrake back in the soil sitting down. Sora notices Mikuin looks upset. Earlier, while talking with Mary, Sora mentioned how well the dragon takes care of others, but called Mikuin a child. Ever since hearing that, Mikuin has been trying hard to prove itself. So when Sora goes to collect laundry, the phone rings on the table. Mikuin quickly climbs up to answer it. But when it finally picks up, it realizes it can't speak. All it can do is bark into the phone. Another time, seeing Sora cleaning, Mikuin grabs a sponge to help, but it accidentally steps on soap foam, slips and crashes into the wall. Mikuin keeps trying to prove it's not just a kid who needs care. But every attempt fails. Even with the mandrake, it couldn't help. That's why Mikuin looks so sad. Seeing Mikuin carefully tend to Connie, Sora finally understands Mikuin struggles with tasks only because of its small size. It doesn't mean it's helpless. Mikuin is just as responsible as the dragon. Sora comforts it. It's okay, Mikuin. You're amazing. Back home, Tezuki prepares to bathe Connie. Though Tezuki acts indifferent, small gestures show care, like testing the water temperature first. She worries the water might be too hot for Connie. Maybe they played too hard today. Asa falls asleep. Soon after getting home, Dragon notices Asa's belly is uncovered. It quickly flies over to pull up the blanket. Just as Dragon finishes and tries to sleep again, Asa turns over, exposing her back. Meanwhile, Sora is giving Mikuin a bath. Sora recently noticed something special. No matter how dirty Mikuin gets, a quick wash makes it look brand new. Sora starts washing their own hair. Mikuin uses this time to prepare a surprise. On the mirror it writes, "Together forever." A cute creature is eating something, but its food is actually human nightmares. Daichi panics when seeing this monster appear, immediately calling Sora for help. When Sora arrives, they're pleasantly surprised to find it's actually a dream-eating Baku. Daichi has suffered from nightmares since childhood. This caused long-term sleep deprivation. He became irritable because of this. People started avoiding him. One day he collapsed in the hallway from exhaustion, right onto Sora, who was passing by. Sora kindly helps him home on the way. Daichi shares his struggles to fight his nightmares. Daichi collected countless temple charms, but nothing worked. As a supernatural expert, Sora says, too many charms can be bad. They offer to check his home. What they find is shocking. Sora exclaims, "You've covered everything." Charms plaster every window. Sora carefully removes them all. They explain some charms actually keep Baku away. But Baku eat nightmares. We should welcome them. Sora draws Daichi a Baku picture, keeping it under his pillow. Might summon one to eat his nightmares. Before leaving, Sora gives Daichi their number. Call me anytime if needed. That night Daichi follows Sora's advice. He places the drawing under his pillow and finally goes to sleep. To his surprise, he doesn't have any nightmares. But he still wakes up in the middle of the night, out of habit. Then he sees a strange creature in his room. Daichi doesn't know. It's the legendary dream-eating Baku. Instead, he thinks it's sucking out his soul. Scared, he quickly calls Sora for help. Sora and Mikuin rush over right away. Then the scene from the beginning happens. Sora exclaims, "It's a dream-eating Baku, so cool." Even though Sora tells him it's a Baku, Daichi still can't believe it. He's only heard about this creature in legends. No one has ever seen one in real life. To convince him these creatures exist, Sora shows him Mikuin, who's sleeping. Sora says, "This is Mikuin the mummy." Daichi gasps. "This is a mummy," Daichi says, "but aren't mummies dead bodies?" The next day Sora brings Tezuki and Asa to check on Daichi. But Daichi isn't at school. He's absent for the next 3 days. On the 4th day, he finally shows up. Turns out, since the Baku appeared, Daichi no longer suffers from nightmares. He catches up on years of lost sleep. He looks refreshed and happy. All his anger is gone. It's like he's a whole new person. After school they meet at Sora's house with their pets. The 3 little ones are curious about the new friend. They climb onto the Baku's soft body. Despite its cute chubby appearance, the Baku can eat human nightmares and is super strong. It easily shakes off the little ones. It can even move faster than sound. But the Baku doesn't misuse its powers. After getting to know its playmates, it happily becomes their train engine. They ask Daichi what he named the Baku, but Daichi is still thinking about it. For now he calls it Chubby. After some thought, Daichi decides to name it Chubby, and so Chubby becomes one of them. Chubby has other skills too. The next day Daichi asks Sora for a favor. He wonders how Chubby got into his room before. He clearly locked all the windows and doors before going to bed that night. So that night Daichi dresses Mukomuku in warm clothes. Then Daichi closes and locks the balcony glass door. He asks Sora to watch and see how Mukomuku gets in after he falls asleep. Sora wants Daichi to sleep on the bed, but Daichi falls asleep instantly. Suddenly, Daichi sits up with eyes closed. He walks to the balcony. After opening the door, he collapses. Sora asks, "Mukomuku, was that you? Did you control Daichi's sleeping body?" It really was Mukomuku's doing. That day Asa hears people talking about the Oni child on his way home. At first Asa doesn't think much of it, but later he finds the Oni child on his bed. So Asa quickly tells everyone, if people see these strange creatures, it'll be trouble. But locking them at home during class feels too cruel. So they discuss finding a temporary place for them. Luckily Sora knows a perfect spot. The next day Sora tells everyone to bring their pets to meet at the shrine on their way to school, the Earth Store Bodhisattva. He smiles and agrees to watch the 4 little ones during school hours. He doesn't get mad when the Oni child taps his head. Then a figure appears behind Sora. Before they can react, it grabs Sora and flies into the shrine. Daichi is terrified by this. He thinks a monster took Sora, but he finds Sora sitting there safely. Sora introduces. She is the god of this place. The god says the little ones can play in the room. This way, no one else will see them. After thanking the god, they leave their pets here. After school they come to take them home. The clingy Mikuin runs straight to Sora. The god becomes the daycare director. She takes care of the little ones during the day. The playful Connie races with Mukomuku, but Mukomuku accidentally bumps the door open. Just then a ladybug crawls by outside. Mikuin gets distracted and follows it. It squeezes through the gap and goes outside. Before it knows it, the door shuts behind it. It tries to call out, but makes no sound. Its soft hands can't knock loudly. Tears fall as it panics outside. Then it hears human voices nearby. Knowing it must stay hidden, Mikuin quickly hides under the floor. The passing humans don't notice it. After they leave, Mikuin tries to go back to the shrine, but after a few steps it meets an Oni child. It stares for a moment before realizing, this isn't the Connie it knows. The Oni child signs, "Are you alone, lost?" Mikuin nods. Thinking Mikuin has no home, the wild Oni child, he leads Mikuin deeper into the forest. He plans to let Mikuin take shelter at his home. First the Oni child worries Mikuin might catch a cold in the rain. Mikuin notices they're getting farther from the shrine, but the Oni child's kindness makes her relax. The tired little ones have fallen asleep. God suddenly notices one seems to be missing. Mikuin goes deeper into the forest. It's like a hidden paradise. Many strange creatures live here. Many cute little spirits and monsters Mikuin has never seen before. There's even a unicorn with a starry pattern on its rear. But this unicorn seems a bit proud. It ignores Mikuin's polite greeting. After noticing Mikuin is missing, God starts searching anxiously near the shrine, not knowing Mikuin is already deep in the forest. The Oni child takes Mikuin into a tree hollow. Inside is his carefully decorated home. As the host, he quickly brings warm water and a towel and helps dry Mikuin's wet back. Polite Mikuin takes the towel and carefully dries the Oni child too. This makes the Oni child feel a little shy. Mikuin signs, "Do you live here alone? It's spacious, this is a nice house." The Oni child misunderstands Mikuin again. They're completely miscommunicating. Seeing Mikuin keep looking outside, he thinks she wants to leave. So he suggests waiting until the rain stops. Mikuin thinks he means, you can never go back. Seeing Mikuin suddenly cry, though confused, the Oni child brings his favorite toy to cheer her up. But Mikuin mistakenly thinks he wants her to eat this big mushroom. He struggles in fear. Then a lightning bolt strikes. After making sure the Oni child is okay, Mikuin looks outside again. Mikuin uses hand signs to say he wants to return to the shrine. Only then does the Oni child realize that Mikuin wasn't actually lost. He had misunderstood Mikuin's meaning. Seeing Mikuin cry, though reluctant to lose his playmate, the Oni child comforts Mikuin. He uses hand signs to say he'll take Mikuin back to the shrine when the rain stops. Mikuin finally smiles. Soon the sky clears. God searches for hours, but can't find Mikuin. She's so worried she crouches down to cry. Then she hears a dog bark. Looking down she sees the missing Mikuin. Seeing Mikuin is safe, God finally relaxes. The Oni child watches this emotional reunion. He understands Mikuin, with his caring family, belongs to a different world from his own. He silently waves goodbye and quickly leaves. After school Sora comes to the shrine. God confesses that Mikuin got lost and keeps apologizing to Sora. Sora tells Mikuin, "Thank goodness, nothing bad happened. That was dangerous. Don't go outside alone next time." Sora asks, "Mikuin, did you thank the Oni child who helped you?" Mikuin shakes his head. At night, the Oni child patrols the forest with a lantern. On the path, he meets the beautiful nine-tailed fox. The nine-tailed fox was waiting there for him. She first points at the Oni child, then points toward the shrine, telling him to go to the shrine right now. After thanking the nine-tailed fox, the Oni child jogs toward the shrine. Under the floor, where the Oni child first met Mikuin, there's a gift Mikuin left for him at night. Sora sees Mikuin can't sleep because he forgot to thank the Oni child. Sora says, "It's okay. Many strange creatures live in that area. Someone must have seen it and will tell the Oni child. I'm sure the Oni child is reading your letter right now." Sora receives a package today. From the way the box keeps shaking and the screams coming from inside, it's clear Sora's dad has sent something unusual again. Then the box opens by itself. The voice inside says, "I'm very angry. You made me introduce myself, and now you're pointing sticks at me." It turns out to be a talking Anubis statue. Sora sees it can't even move by itself, so it probably isn't dangerous. Sora then takes the Anubis statue out of the box. Sora's dad found the Anubis statue at an Egyptian gift shop. This mummy-related statue that seemed harmless. Legend says Anubis invented mummies, and since it's from Egypt, like Mikuin, Sora introduces Mikuin to Anubis. But Anubis insists, Mikuin isn't a mummy. Real mummies are dry and shriveled, not plump and bouncy like Mikuin. Then Anubis starts examining Mikuin in its own way. Sora shouts, "What are you doing?" Anubis says, "Relax, my gentle bites are highly praised." Mikuin seems to be enjoying it. Finally, Anubis concludes, because Mikuin is alive, it's different from ordinary mummies. Then Anubis starts showing its prediction skills, but it acts like a street scammer. Seeing rain outside, it says it will rain today. Seeing kitchen ingredients, it says curry will be made tonight. Everyone quickly realizes it's making things up. Then Tezuki finds something else in the box. Anubis remembers there's also a bag of Egyptian sand sent with it. Worried there might be something strange inside, Sora puts on protective gear and pours the sand into a glass tank. Only when he's sure there's no danger does Sora relax. Sora asks Mikuin, "Do you want to play with the sand?" This sand was probably specially prepared for Mikuin by Dad. Mikuin really likes this sand from his homeland. Soon Daichi and Asa come to visit. Just as Sora tries to introduce their new motionless member, they see Pochi becoming Anubis's driver. The little ones are very curious about their new playmate. They immediately gather around Anubis. When they see Anubis biting Dragon's tail, a confused Asa gets scared. Sora explains this as Anubis's way of showing friendship. He bonds through physical contact. Anubis loves Dragon's soft, chubby feel even more. Asa thinks about something. Isn't Anubis the legendary god of the underworld? How could someone catch him so easily and sell him to Japan? Sora explains this. Anubis is actually a Tsukumagami. It's a spirit that lives inside objects, just like the Earth store Bodhisattva at the shrine. Suddenly Sora starts hiccuping. At first the little ones don't pay attention, until they hear what Tezuki says. Tezuki says, "I heard if you hiccup 100 times you'll die." Mikuin thinks Sora will die if he keeps hiccuping. After hearing that a scare can stop hiccups, he immediately starts unwrapping his bandages. He wants to scare Sora this way. Sora is indeed shocked by Mikuin's action. He drops his cup and runs to check, because Dad's notebook repeatedly warned never to remove Mikuin's bandages. The consequences must be very serious. But Mikuin deliberately keeps Sora away, jumping on a Pochi to escape. Sora tries to chase him, but Dragon and the Oni child block his way. Clearly the little ones are working together to let Mikuin keep unwrapping. Tezuki meant to help at first, but then realizes this is a chance to see what Mikuin looks like inside. So he blocks Sora too. Sora shouts, "What are you doing?" Tezuki says, "Sora, I was thinking." Mikuin removed his bandages himself. "There's nothing to worry about." Sora says, "You jerk. You just want to see what's inside Mikuin, don't you?" Asa notices how nervous Sora looks. He clearly doesn't want Mikuin to keep unwrapping. So Asa runs after Mikuin instead. Asa grabs Mikuin's bandage, but this makes more of it come loose. Suddenly a bright light flashes in Tezuki's eyes. Sora uses this chance to break free. Pochi stops when Sora shouts at him, tears in his eyes. Mikuin runs back to Sora. No one understands why Mikuin unwrapped himself. Then the little creatures start hiccuping together. Asa asks, "Did you hear our conversation? Were you trying to help Sora stop hiccuping?" The little creatures nod. "Yes." Tazuki says, "That rumor about dying after 100 hiccups isn't true." Sora tries to figure out how to rewrap the bandages, but when he turns to talk to the others, Mikuin is already back to normal. No one knows how he did it. Before leaving, Daichi looks at all the little creatures. He says, "Sora's house is like a magical zoo. It's full of strange creatures everywhere. Only Pochi seems normal here." Sora explains that Pochi is already 50 years old. This kind of dog can live for hundreds of years. "He was here even before I was born," Sora says. "A boy at school showed him something today. The boy took a photo of a mysterious creature. Sora recognizes it as the little Inagami, but to avoid causing trouble, he lies that it's just an injured, normal puppy. He tells the boy not to tell others. At lunch, Sora tells everyone about this. Asa worries about Inagami's injury, but when school ends it's already dark. They agree to search the photo location together during tomorrow's holiday. That night Sora can't sleep, worrying about Inagami. He plays with Mikuin to pass the time. Then Night Owl Anubis speaks up. He wants to watch a late-night show. Sora takes him to the living room to watch TV together. Mikuin wakes up from a nightmare. He panics when he can't find Sora. He gets really scared. The next day, he becomes extra clingy. He refuses to leave Sora's side. They leave the three little ones at the shrine and take Mikuin to search for Inagami. Because Mikuin got lost before. Before leaving, God kindly puts a lost prevention charm on it to stop it from getting lost again. They come to the photo location. People say monsters appear here. So few people visit this mountain. But Sora tells everyone not to worry. He says he often played here as a kid. The monsters here are all friendly. While searching, Sora meets his old friend Yamada. Though Yamada is a monster, he really likes humans and he knows where Inagami is. He even took care of them. This morning, he leads Sora's group to them. Yamada says Blue got hurt because they met people who catch special creatures. Blue lured the bad guys away alone to protect childhood friend Red. Though they escaped in the end, Blue still got hurt. Instead of being thankful, Red keeps acting cold. Red won't let Blue come near. Blue feels very upset. It doesn't understand what it did wrong. Sora and Tazuki split up to chase them. They catch up with Blue but didn't expect it to cry so hard. Blue isn't crying this hard because Red bit it. It's confused why Red treated it this way. After Sora explains, Blue understands. Though Blue wanted to protect Red by luring the bad guys away, it didn't think about Red's feelings. Red was also worried about Blue, afraid they might never meet again. That's why Red acted angry. After Sora suggests Blue make the first move to make up, then Tazuki starts talking to Red. Tazuki understands completely, because Blue acts just like Sora. When danger comes they always rush forward first to protect everyone else, not thinking others worry about them too. But Tazuki knows they just want to protect loved ones. That's why they act without thinking. If you want someone to understand your feelings, don't get angry. You should talk to them properly. After Sora and Tazuki talk to them, Blue and Red finally make up. Blue and Red jump into the waterfall. Then they start climbing up the waterfall. If they reach the top, they'll become true Inagami. Everyone watches Blue and Red climb. No one notices someone secretly taking Mikuin. When Sora realizes Mikuin is already gone, Sora wants to search, but doesn't know where to start. Luckily, Daichi suddenly remembers the paper charm God put on Mikuin. So Sora starts calling Mikuin's name loudly. The kidnapper says, "I found a rare one today. It should sell for good money. So soft. I wonder what's inside. Where's the opening?" Sora's voice activates the charm on Mikuin's back, but it's too far away for anyone to see. Luckily Tazuki is in the archery club, so Tazuki has very good eyesight. He spots the glowing charm by the waterfall. But to get there from here, they'd have to take a long forest path. By then the kidnapper would be gone. The fastest way is to climb the rocks beside the waterfall. This is clearly dangerous. But everyone understands Sora's determination to save Mikuin. So Asa quickly goes to the lakeside. He tells Sora to run toward him at full speed. Then he throws Sora upward with all his strength. Sora grabs the cliff wall, but while climbing up he slips on some moss. Sora falls. Luckily Blue and Red arrive just in time. One reduces the water's force in front, while the other pushes Sora from behind. They successfully bring Sora to the top. Sora shouts, "Give Mikuin back." The man thinks Sora is also a dealer who sells rare creatures for profit. Sora doesn't waste time talking. He jumps down and fights the man. But Sora is no match for an adult. Soon the man pins him down. The man is about to escape. Luckily, the mountain god notices everything. He quickly punishes the man. Vines trap him. In the end, Mikuin is safe. The bad guy gets taken away by the spirits. He will face terrible punishment. To thank Sora for catching the intruder, the spirits send many gifts. Mikuin cheers up after receiving presents. Then everyone returns to the shrine. They thank God for being so wise, making God feel a little shy. Later they go to Sora's house. When the pets learn they went to the mountains without them, the pets start pouting. Daichi apologizes. We didn't mean to leave you behind. Sora opens the gifts from the spirits. Inside is a full festival set. No one knows how it fits inside, but this will make the pets happy. Everyone changes into formal clothes. Sora even prepares outfits for the pets. A small backyard festival begins. Mukumuku plays the lottery game first. After sniffing the ropes, Daichi ties one around Mukumuku. Mukumuku moves quickly, easily pulling out prizes. But these are spirit gifts, so the prizes are strange things. The top prize is a loincloth. Tazuki, who's good at archery, prepares to shoot moving targets. Connie tugs Tazuki's sleeve, wanting to try first. Tazuki lets Connie go ahead. Connie aims straight for the top prize, but misses all targets. Seeing Connie wants the prize, expert Tazuki steps in. He quickly knocks down all top prizes. The targets turn into different masks. Connie loves the mask Tazuki gave. It's a special gift from Tazuki. Other pets pick their favorite masks too. Dragon tries the water balloon fishing game. It spots an orange balloon matching its color, but it's too weak to lift it. Asa helps out, accidentally pulling up all balloons. Anubis can't join the fun, so Sora puts the water ball in its mouth to let it feel the texture. Everyone enjoys a wonderful night together. The next day, Sora and Mikuin eat at the table. Mikuin spills water on itself while drinking, just like when it first came to this home. But now they share a strong bond. At the story's start, Sora was drying laundry. Now he's doing the same at the balcony, but this time Mikuin keeps him company.